Hello and welcome, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you the top 10 most epic Ark Tames, so let's get straight into it. In at number 10 I've decided to put the Astradelphus but also the Tropognathus, as I find these really add a lot in the epicness of just truly what they are in Ark. Like, these are ridiculously fast flying creatures which just have crazy saddles and crazy abilities, and they are just so cool and so epic to use. And the Astradelphus can even do all kinds of acrobatics as well with the press of a button. It's a literal dog fighter but in Ark, and same sort of goes for the Tropognathus. Not Tropognathus, it is Tropognathus. What am I thinking? For the Tropognathus as well, but I'm putting the Astradelphus here as I do think it is the cooler or the most epic of the two, because obviously that saddle just looks so gorgeous, and on top of that it just has all those acrobatic moves and sort of looks a little bit cooler as a creature as well. Not quite as primitive and maybe a little bit more futuristic, but yeah, it's a really epic Ark Tame in my opinion. Now, I really love the ability that the Velo has. Essentially it acts as a sort of portable turret, if you will, and obviously it can shoot all kinds of spikes and spines into its opponents. It really does stand very highly in the department of a fighting creature for me, and I really like its ability. It's unique in the sense that Wildcard has never revisited it since, and obviously the R Velocity have come out on Gen 2 as well, so it's clear Wildcard does care about its creatures and acknowledges them as being really good. It's just sort of actually a bit of a shame that they didn't do more with these creatures, but also sort of not a shame as well, as actually these creatures are a lot better off as their own standalone thing, and I really like that sort of Wildcard kept them to their own in a way. I think we all know the Desmodus by now, and this creature is really a favourite of many and definitely a favourite of mine. The Sanguine Elixir is just such an epic ability to have. A third of your tame will be done with the simple click of a button. I'm not sure about passive tames, but considering the vast majority of Ark Tames are knockout ones, you know, it's going to save yourself a lot of time, especially if you like playing it on official. But even if you don't, it is still going to save you a lot of time unless you've got ridiculously high rates, and then there really is no point of this creature being here, or really a point of most creatures being there, because, you know, you're just an OP god at that point. Either way, these things also can glide around like the Snarl, another very epic creature, but sadly it's not making the list today. And obviously they can grapple onto any kind of wall or vertical surface, or even ceilings like Tapihara as well, but you know, this is a far better creature than that one. You really can't go wrong with the Desmodus. It is a very epic, cool model design, and it fits into the game nicely with a healthy amount of good abilities. In at number 7, I'm deciding to put the Deinonychus, as this is just such a nice creature for me to have, and especially considering it can literally grapple on to any sort of large creature and tear them to shreds with that bleed ability. It is really a epic ability. The animation is just so cool, and the effects with the damage is just great as well. These creatures are really ones of style. Just look at that. This creature is just bleeding out from within. Honestly, it gets me every time. And these creatures take no full damage. They are insane at traversing the map. They have got great movement speed, great general mobility, and the pack buff on top of this too. They can climb any sort of wall or vertical surface with no issues whatsoever. They are a prime boss creature for doing that bleed ability, of course, but with the pack buff you've got an even better time with yourself, and they are very fast agile creatures, and also not too difficult to tame, just requiring you to steal their eggs from the chalk cliffs biome and simply raise it as your own. Coming up next, we have got the Mwing, and this is really a creature of insane speed and just general great travel. It spawns on Genesis Part 2, and its saddle was unlocked at level 18. You're going to have no trouble with using this creature very early on in the stages of your Ark playing, because again, that saddle was unlocked extremely early on, and although maybe there was a bit of a learning curve to be said when actually, you know, riding around on this creature, it takes a little bit to get the gist of how you control it and all of that. You aren't going to struggle too much, and at least I haven't in my playing. The learning curve isn't the steepest thing in the world compared to some other creatures. They're essentially just a big flying platypus. They really do have a lot going for them in terms of looks. Actually, people don't give them enough credit for it, but in my opinion they are very good lookers. They also are very great for underwater travel. They're decent swimmers. Again, people under respect them for that in a way. Obviously they are portable feeding troughs too, hence this animation that's playing still disturbs me slightly, and they gather berries too. In at number 5 we've got the rock drake, and come on, this creature is just so absurdly great. I simply have to put it on the list. From its release in 2017 on the map of Aberration, this really is a staple, and we all know and love it today. While maybe not quite as sound in the ability aspect as the Mwing, at least from my perspective, it can climb any surface that you could possibly think of, being vertical or even more than vertical. You could be completely upside down this thing, and obviously you can dive bomb onto any sort of patch of elevated ground too, which is a general nice thing to have. Although they aren't as great for less high or differing in elevation environments as shown here. I really didn't give it the best place to sort of show off its skills, if you will, in this environment, because it can't do the best in an environment like this for great travel. But they do have some pretty hefty damage, and with some Lazarus Chowder, the Rockwell boss on Aberration is an absolute cheese. These things are also a dream to tame as well. There's just such a nice process to go along with it. It's basically the Wyvern tame, but you've got to go down all the way. I think it's called the red zone. My brain is in a bit of a fuzz with the Aberration zones, but you know, the one that's really deep underground, that one. You go there, and then obviously you steal the rock drake egg, and then that's how you tame one. Then you've got to raise it up, use air conditioners, don't bother with anything else because the temperature range is absurdly low, I think. Either way, yeah, let's continue. Next up, I'm putting the Blood Stalker, and I love the general concept of this creature. It really does excite me as a general tame. Like, come on, this really does have a lot going for it, and especially considering it is my favourite underwater mount of all time, I really did need to put it on the epic creatures list. If you don't like spiders, or you just generally have arachnophobia, then you're not really going to agree with this creature being here. But for me, it is just so cool. I love its design, I love its animations, I love its abilities. You're essentially Spider-Man in an Ark. But the reason why they're so good underwater is they're quick, they can also skate along the top of the water too, and you can see all the angles of the creatures. In a very low visibility environment such as the ocean, it is very useful, in my case at least, to have the ability to see what enemies and creatures are aggroed onto you ahead or behind. And still, once you're out of the water, which most creatures that reside in the ocean can't do, you've still got a great travelling mount that simply isn't just going to die, or at this point not even let you out of the water in any sense. These really are just great for general versatility of travel, but I love their model design and I love all of their in-game uses. Then at number 3, we've got the Shadowmane, and really a fist lion. What can be much better than a creature like this? It just has a heck of a lot going for it, doesn't it? This is a hunking beast of a creature when it comes to how packed it is full of abilities. It's relatively small, there's not really any issues size-wise, and that makes it quite a useful caving creature. Also, the only real difficulty with this creature is its taming method, which is laborious at the best of times. But once you've got around that, you've got yourself a gold star of a creature. It can jump to incredible heights, like you can see here, but also it has the pack buff, it can go invisible, it has the hydration buff, and it is a great swimmer, like you'll see in just a second when I show it off. And it is sort of such a shame that the tame method is so difficult, and also they have been nerfed since release, but they still are gold star creatures in my eye. They have natural armor too, which the wyverns don't have, and considering they don't have a saddle, that is a very nice thing for these creatures to hold to them. Very, very epic tames. In at number 2, I've decided to put the Rogna, and I don't really include this thing on my list nowadays, but when it comes to epic art creatures, this really is one of the all-time greats. It spawns on the island and the Lost Island in any given swamp biome. Not sure about ASO though, because the spawns tend to be a little bit wacky with creatures that are in said swamp biomes, and they might just spawn around the rivers, but I don't think that's quite the case for the Minor Ganassi. You might also find them in some redwood regions too. Either way, besides the spawn points, they're relatively rare, at least I would say on ASE. In ASA, they do spawn more constantly, but that is besides the point why they're epic. I should really get onto it. Their model design is just so cool, and their abilities make them very avid and effective raiders. They are just so good at their job for that. They're also great at carrying all kinds of creatures. They are amazing at carrying large creatures. They can carry Rexes and Parasaurus, which, considering how long I've been playing Ark for, it's an insane thing to think about, that a creature can actually pick up those tames. The tame method is pretty much a rip-off of the creature, which is in the #1 spot, so I'll save the explanation for that creature. And actually, speaking of it, we might as well get onto it right now. And in #1, we have got the Reaper. Come on, this creature, in my opinion, is just the most epic. It fits into the map of Aberration so well, and its tame method was so revolutionary for the time, and still is very revolutionary to this day. I still love this tame to bits. Maybe not quite as much as the first time, but the first time is always the best, as they say, isn't it? That's what she said. Either way, continuing on, this is one of those tames where it really is a must-have in any Ark player's library. If you have never tamed one before and you have access to Aberration, I would strongly recommend you start playing the map and you get one of these things. It is going to be an experience which you never forget. Essentially, get a Reaper Queen down to below 1000 health, it will impregnate you, and then you have to gather loads of XP to get 100% effectiveness. You probably want to read pheromone glands as well once that baby is born, so it doesn't really kill you, because yes, it will kill you. But even with the pheromones, sometimes they're a little bit frisky, and they might just kill you anyway. If that tends to be how things work. You don't actually technically need the pheromones, but it just makes that claiming process a lot easier, which is maybe something you wouldn't normally have to think about when raising a child, but they're a little bit more deadly all the way until, you know, you've actually claimed them, and then they're pretty tame once they've kind of come out of that original baby stage form and they turn into what Reaper Kings usually look like. But yeah, the most epic tame in my opinion. It really does have to be said. But anyway, that is it in today's video. I really hope that you all did enjoy, as I definitely did enjoy making this one. As always, comment down below what is the most epic Ark tame to you, and if you didn't agree with this list, then make sure to put your 10 in the comments below, as I want to know your thoughts, and I'll see you all later.